Sunrise in my eyes. My rock sweeter, beneath the one I love. I don't know how, don't know why, but I've been toasting all my life. Oh, it's sweeter. I've been toasting all my life.
Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. Now there's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name is Megan, and I'm going to be talking to you about all things penguin as we watch the world's smallest species of penguin, our little penguin, coming out of the water, crossing the beach, and heading back to their burrows here on Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. Tonight, I'm joined by Anna. Anna, do you want to come on in and tell us what you're going to be doing tonight?
Hi everyone, lovely to see you. My name's Anna. Tonight I'm going to be monitoring your questions. So if you've got any questions for Megan tonight, all things penguin or anything penguin related for the Penguin Parade, send them through and we'll be sure to get back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anna. People are always trying to give me the curly questions. So do your best. Put through any comments, any questions you have on Facebook and YouTube. Anna will be looking through those and giving me some of the best questions or some of the hardest ones, maybe things we haven't talked about before. If you can think of any, let us know in the comments. And we'll do our best to get back to you. But if we don't get back to you on Facebook, we will have rangers going through the comments and questions on Facebook and replying to those within the next 24 hours. We don't have that capacity on YouTube, so put through your questions and we'll do our best to answer them live on Live Penguin TV tonight. Now, we have already had a few penguins hanging around, so I might just scroll across the beach and we'll see if they're still hanging out, because as you can see tonight it is a little bit dark, it's a little bit misty, so the penguins might be in a little bit earlier than they were last night. Oh, there's some. Let me just zoom in, and there's quite a bit of seaweed, so the penguins are looking a little bit unsure. And I apologise, we've cleaned the cameras a few times, but there is quite a bit of sea mist happening tonight, so it might keep fogging up our cameras, so we'll do our best to try and get you a nice close in focus view of the penguins if we can. And there's our first little group. So we haven't missed the start of our penguin count. This is just our first little group of penguins, our first little waddle coming out of the water over that seaweed. So they do have a bit of a wall of seaweed to scale to get over onto the beach tonight. Oh, and they decided no, we're not ready yet. We're not ready to come out and cross the beach because it is still a little bit light. It's a little bit early, so they're going to hang around a little bit before they cross. So while they're doing that, I would like to let everyone know where we are. So I said we're on Phillip Island, but Phillip Island is also known as Milau. And Milau is the traditional lands of the Bunurong. So the Bunurong were the first people here on Phillip Island. They would have come down to beaches like Summerlands Beach here in spring and summer to feed on things like shellfish and short-tailed shearwater birds. So they looked after this land and lived here for many, many thousands of years before Europeans came here. So I would like to acknowledge the Bunurong and their elders past, present and emerging as the traditional custodians of the land that we're lucky enough to watch these beautiful little penguins on tonight. And we are Phillip Island Nature Park, so we're who's bringing the penguins to your homes tonight, but we also look after about 20% of Phillip Island. So we don't just look after our gorgeous little penguins here, we also manage our koala reserve, Churchill Island Heritage Farm, the Nobby Centre, which has recently reopened, a colony of about 20,000 Australian fur seals, and many beautiful beaches, wetlands, woodlands and reserves all around the island. So we do hope to see you guys back here soon if you haven't already come and visited. I know many of our regular waddle watchers have been coming to see the penguins in real life, which has been absolutely fantastic. We love seeing your beautiful smiling faces and getting recognised. I know Jordan's been recognised a few times at the parade and she had someone take a photo with her. No one's recognised me yet. The masks make it a little bit difficult, so I'm waiting. If you do see us out and about and you come to visit the penguins or you come down to the island, give us a hug, say hello. We'd love to chat to you about penguins. And if you haven't been watching Live Penguin TV regularly, and I am saying say huck to us, you might be going, what is she talking about? And huck is the noise the penguins make when they're out in the water talking to each other. They'll go huck, 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 huck. Can you give us a huck, Anna? There you go. So that's how the penguins talk to each other in the water. How they group together and find each other to form groups that we call rafts. So it'll be a little bit hard to see the rafts tonight because it's misty, it's rough, it's choppy out there. But usually you can see a black line on the surface of the water, which is one of those groups of penguins out there hucking, chatting, grouping together to form a group for safety in numbers before they cross the beach. Because what we're witnessing right now is our penguins' dangerous dash. This is the most scary, the most dangerous part of the penguins' night. So they're looking around, keeping an eye out for predators, checking if it's safe before they cross, because they're really well camouflaged, really hard to see when they're in the water, but as soon as they come up over the seaweed onto the sand, you can see they're quite conspicuous. They're easy to see for predators, and they're worried about big birds of prey, things like Pacific gulls, sea eagles, swamp harriers that might want to eat a little penguin. So they're waiting till it gets dark, because once the sun goes down, those birds of prey won't be out hunting, so that's when it's safest for these penguins to cross the beach, and they're coming in these groups for safety in numbers before they cross. And you'll notice I keep zooming out just to check that there aren't any more penguins sneaking up on us, because this is a nice small little group, not a huge amount of penguins in that group to keep them safe, but they're going to make a break for it. They're going to try and cross. So as they cross, do your best to try and count how many penguins are in this group. I reckon there's maybe 16, 17 from my quick guesstimate. But if you have had a go counting them, put in the comments how many you think were in that group. So we do have our penguin counter. Anna, do you know who our penguin counter is tonight? Sally is counting the penguins tonight. So she would have just had an official start to our penguin count now that we've had the first group of penguins crossing the beach. She would have waited till they got more than halfway across, when we know they're probably not going to run back in the water. They sometimes like to trick us, but usually once they get this far, they're not going to run back. So Sally has just started counting our penguins, and she'll count those penguins for 50 minutes. And we've been counting the penguins that way since about 1968. A ranger with a pair of binoculars counting them as they cross the beach. And for all of those regular water watchers at home, I hope you've all got your guesses in as to how many penguins came in last night, because I believe Anna has the number for us. How many penguins were there last night, Anna?
Last night there was 1,465 penguins.
Wow, 1,465 for those playing at home. Let us know who won your penguin lotto. We like to have a bit of a bet here among the rangers. We'll all guess at the start of the night how many penguins we think are going to come in, and whoever gets closest gets the chocolate. And do we have a number?
We don't have a number just yet, but Sally did let us know that there is another raft coming in, Megan.
Ooh, okay. I might try and I know we want to watch these cute little guys, but this might be a big raft, so we'll go over and see if we can spot them. There we go. That's a nice... Oh, there's two groups. It looks like there's a big group on top of this great wall of seaweed. What are they doing? Wow. The penguins are scaling the seaweed. That's something that we don't see often. We definitely have seen it before, but usually we don't get such a big wall of seaweed there. Sorry, it's a bit hard to zoom in on those ones. I'll go over to this group. So they definitely have a tough night tonight trying to climb over all of that seaweed and get across the beach. And Sally's going to have a difficult time trying to count them as they go over the seaweed. She'll have to count them in this little gap between the seaweed and the rock. So try and count these guys. If you counted the last group, this is the next step up. There's quite a few more penguins in these couple of groups scaling that seaweed. And the penguins, even though the beach looks little bit different, there is quite a bit of seaweed there. They know where they're going. So they come back to the same spot on the same beach each time they decide to come home. So they'll be looking for landmarks and pathways to make their way back to their burrow. So the wall of seaweed might have thrown them a little bit. They might have rocked up and been like, oh, this is a little bit different. There's something weird going on here. Oh, but there's that big hill. There's that funny looking tree. We want to cross right here. And they found their way and scaled over that seaweed and made it up across the beach. And there they go over the rocks. You can see they're super hard to see once they get onto the rocks, and once they get up here they usually feel quite safe and they might stop and have a bit of a rest. Are you guys gonna have a rest? Maybe not. Nope, they're in a hurry tonight, and I don't blame them because we are in our penguin breeding season at the moment. So these penguins do have important places to be, partners and chicks to see going back to their burrows tonight. I'll try and keep an eye out for a big group on the highway camera up in the corner there. But a lot of our penguins at the moment are sitting on eggs. Some of them do still have chicks. Most of them will be older chicks getting ready to leave the burrow for the first time. We went and checked the study site that Jordan and I help out with checking a few times a week, and some of our chicks have just fledged. One of them weighed about 1,200 grams, which is incredible because these little guys usually only weigh about 1 kilo. So we've had some very fat, some very healthy penguin chicks in the colony lately, and a lot of them are fledging. They're heading out to sea to fend for themselves, and a lot of the parents who've already fledged chicks, who've already headed out to sea, are already sitting on eggs again. So they're on their second clutches. So some of these penguins might be going back with a belly full of food to feed to their chicks, and some of them might be going back to their burrows to swap over incubation duties. So to go sit on the egg and let their partner head out to sea to take their turn. And we've actually been, I'm going to switch the highway camera now. Here we go. Here's a nice big group, and I'll try to follow them as they walk around. Hello. I love seeing them so close up. You can see all their little individual walks, all their little different waddles. I know some of you were hoping that I would get up and do a waddle for you. Unfortunately, our camera doesn't zoom out that far. So the best I can do is a waddle in the seat like Jordan. I think Jordan did the little penguin waddle. And they do that waddle because their knees are fused together. So they can't bend their knees. They just kind of lean forward, rock side to side, and they get that momentum to keep them going forward. So sometimes you might see them, if there's something in the path that's not usually there, it's a bit hard for them to stop, and they'll kind of keep going. Oh, there's a stick, and they won't notice till they've tripped over it. But when a penguin falls over, they kind of bounce. They're very sturdy, very robust little birds. They're pretty much a ball of muscle, a little penguin. So if they fall, they usually pop right back up, and there's nothing to worry about. We'll turn this camera back around. I'll see if there's any more coming up along the highway. And this highway is where about 60% of our penguins like to walk up and head back to their burrows. So it's a very popular one. No more coming along there. We'll keep an eye out, and we'll go back to the main beach and see who else is on their way. There's a few already back in the burrows. And while we're having a look to see what we can find, we might get a question. So I hope you guys have all been sending through your burning penguin questions, anything that maybe we haven't talked about for a while, or you haven't heard us talk about yet, or anything you really just want to know. Do you have any questions for me, Anna?
Yes, I do. So Sally would probably prefer it to be a low tide because it's easy to count. But Chris would like to know whether the penguins prefer high or low tide.
Good question, Chris. Do the penguins prefer low or high tide? So I would say they definitely prefer the high tide. So the less distance they have to walk, the better. So while we're talking about the tides, I'll go back over to the beach. So tonight, the tide is a little ways out. It definitely gets out further. And the further out the tide is, the further the penguins have to walk pretty much. So a low tide is what our penguin count is really like, because it gives them a lot of time to count the penguins as they cross. It makes it a lot easier for people to see them. Although when the first group arrives, you'll be squinting trying to see them because they're so far away and so small. But when the tide is high, it comes right up to these rocks here. And I was just saying before that the penguins feel safe on the rocks. They'll come up, they'll rest on the rocks, they'll have a little break, they feel safe there. So when the tide is really high and the water comes right up to these rocks, the penguins just pop up out of the water, they're on the rocks, they feel safe, they're happy, they don't have to really do that dangerous dash. So the penguins definitely prefer that high tide. It means they can swim further, they don't have to walk too far, because a penguin's preferred method of travel is definitely swimming. So they spend about 80% of their time out at sea. They'd much rather be out in the water swimming around. It's what they're best at. They can swim faster than the fastest human Olympic swimmer. They can dive thousands of times every day, up and down. We've seen some penguins diving up to about 72 meters, and some penguins holding their breath for almost 2 minutes. So they are incredible little birds for their size. If you remember little penguins, the smallest species of penguin are only 1 foot tall. Diving 72 meters is just incredible. I'm just going to watch these little guys going up the hill because I really wonder where they're going. They haven't taken any of the main pathways. They're just waddling along, finding their way up the hill. And some of these penguins do have a long way to go. So some penguins can walk up to 2 kilometers, not necessarily in a straight line, to get back to their burrows, up steep hills, up cliffs. So there are penguins, not just here at the Penguin Parade, but all around Summerland's Peninsula. So if you do come and visit, you can go for a drive around the peninsula and see some of these steep, sheer cliff faces with penguin pathways going up them. Because the penguins just walk up the same spot every night. They wear away a little track up these cliff faces. So they will find a way. If there is food nearby and there's good suitable nesting space, the penguins will figure out how to make it work. Where are you guys going? Right up the hill. And that might even be a burrow. So there is a hole in the ground. Oh, I think there is under that tussock. Oh yeah, there's somebody inside. Let's see if I can get a bit of a closer look. Hello. What is... Oh, no, maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe it's just the grass. Sorry guys, I got excited over nothing. Let's go back to the beach and see if there's any more penguins coming out of the water. It has been a little bit of a slow start tonight, but it is different every night here at the Penguin Parade. We get different penguin numbers, different penguins, different penguin arrival time. It all depends on the conditions. And you might have heard us talk about previously what the most number of penguins we've ever seen, and also the least. And the least number of penguins we've ever had, well, there's a few more that have stuck across, was actually one night where there was a sea fog or a mist. So it's a bit misty tonight, but it's nothing like what that mist would have been, because that was a night where you couldn't even see the water from where our camera was. And that meant that the penguins couldn't see their pathways or landmarks. So that night only 8 penguins crossed the beach. So we've had more than 8 penguins. I think we can say that we've successfully seen the Penguin Parade when there's more than 8 penguins. We've definitely had a few good rafts. But that was because they couldn't see where they were going, so they just decided to stay out in the water. So luckily these penguins have been able to find their way home. We've been able to see them cross the beach and head back to their burrows. So there's none coming out of the water right now, so I might go over and we'll see if there's any at their burrows. Let's have a look. Is that a penguin or a rock? It's a question we ask ourselves often. I remember Ranger Michaela, who used to work here, one night was standing there staring at something off the boardwalk. She was like, is that a penguin or a shearwater? And she just couldn't figure it out. So she asked another ranger and like, oh, sorry, Michaela, that's a rock. So if you've ever seen something moving or a rock like I have and you've thought that it's a penguin or a bandicoot or something really exciting, you get yourself all excited. Happens to us all the time, unfortunately. Oh, what's going on over here? That looked like a bit of a penguin argument. What are you guys doing? So it looks like maybe this penguin up on the top right was out the side of his burrow, and these 2 penguins down here got a little bit too close and he said, hey, this is my home. You get away. Because the male penguins are quite territorial. Let's see, this might even be some chicks looking for food who've been rejected. No, they look like adults. But they may even be older chicks. It's a little bit hard to see. I can't see them super clearly. But the chicks don't know what their parents look like. So if they do see another adult, they'll run up to them saying, are you my mum and dad? Can you give me some food? But only their own parents will feed them. So that was a harsh rejection by that penguin from that burrow, whether they were some chicks or just some adults trying to make their way up the path. He pushed them back down the hill, which we just managed to see. Ooh. Anna.
So those burrows you're looking at there, Megan, they look like they've got something on them. Maybe you could tell our visitors and our watchers what's happening there.
Yeah, you guys are probably wondering what is going on. It does look a little bit strange, and I might zoom in on this burrow here to see what these guys are doing while I explain to you what's happening. So, what is happening here? So these boxes they're quite exposed, so you can see there's not much vegetation around them, and that is a couple little penguin chicks there.
Thanks, Sally.
Yeah, these little guys are looking for food, so maybe it was that the other adults were running away from these chicks. That might have been what was going on there. Say, Mum, Dad, you coming home? You coming to feed me? And these little guys are stuck in their burrow all day, every day, for about 8 to 10 weeks before they're ready to fledge. So when these burrows are exposed like these ones are, with no trees or plants covering them, they can get very, very hot. If we have hot weather or especially a heat wave, we found that some of our penguins overheat and get heat stress. So when you guys think of penguins, I'm sure a lot of you think of the big emperor penguins that live in Antarctica. They live out on the ice where it's really, really cold. And even though our little penguins don't live on the ice, they do prefer the cooler weather. And they are the smaller species of penguin because that does help them stay cooler when we have hot days, but they're still not made for hot weather. So anything that gets up to about 30 degrees or over, these little guys, they're so adorable. They really struggle with that hot weather. So they might poke their heads out the entrances of their burrows, they'll pant, they'll try to cool down. And if all else fails, they'll come outside during the day, which can be really dangerous. And sometimes they can even die from heat stress. So what we're trying to do with these boxes, and I might zoom out, it looks like there's some more penguins coming in now, going up the hill. So what we're trying to do with these boxes is we're trying to cover them to give them a bit of insulation to help our penguins cope with heat. Because we do have summer coming up and some more hot days and potential heat waves. So we've put some sand and mulch over them to try and insulate them a little bit. There's even some branches you can see on the ones on the front. We've planted some plants around them, so that little white thing you can see there is a tree guard around a newly planted plant. Some seaberry saltbush, if anyone's wondering, or rhagodia, to try and give these penguin burrows a bit of insulation in the long term. But in the meanwhile, we've put that sand and that tan bark over the top to try and help keep our penguins cool, to help give them more resilience in the face of climate change, because it's something we've started to see more and more of recently, is those heat waves. When the penguins can deal with one hot day, but if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 hot days in a row, that's where we start to see these cute little guys struggling, particularly during their molt. A couple years ago, we had a big heat wave during the penguin molting season, and that's when you've probably heard us talk about molt before. The penguins have to spend about 2 to 3 weeks on land, losing and replacing all their feathers. So they have to more than double their body weight. They get really fat, and they have to spend all that time on land, pushing out their old feathers, getting their new ones. Oh, sorry, I'll go over to the highway camera. So it's a very energetically expensive time, and they're stuck on land, and they're already really hot because they're really fat. They're all their blood vessels are dilated to push out those old feathers and grow the new ones. So they're very sensitive to high temperatures. So that's what we're trying to do with those boxes there. What are these guys doing? Just having a bit of a rest. We'll watch these little guys for a bit, and I'll move that other camera around. So yeah, we're trying to help our penguins out best we can. We do actually, there is a PhD student at the moment working on a new potential design or some more potential solutions to help create some cooler temperatures in those boxes to help out our little penguins. Oh, and there's a good group on the rocks now. They are getting a little bit hard to see with the sea mist, but I'll go over to these little guys, making their way over the rocks. And something that we're also preparing for is the bushfire season. So we manage a lot of woodland as well as coastal areas all around the island. So our rangers have been very busy out working on fire breaks and training and preparing for that fire season. And of course, the last thing we want is a fire out on the Summerland Peninsula in our penguin colony or anywhere in the island. We were very lucky to avoid any fires during the really bad bushfire season last year. But our penguins here have no natural defense against fire. So one of our research officers was telling me that if a penguin, if it has fire go over it, it'll just stay in its burrow. If it gets fire on its feathers, it will try and preen the fire away. So that is something we're also trying to protect our beautiful little penguins from. And something that we've been able to actually help rehabilitate wildlife from the bushfires last year. So you might have heard us talk about our koala reserve and how we had 14 koalas there who were affected by the bushfires last summer, and the last of those koalas was released last weekend back to bushland near Malakuta, which was very exciting, very heartwarming to see those beautiful little animals going back into the wild, rehabilitated, being able to go back out into some regenerating bushland. Oh, we've only got 5 minutes left. That went super fast. Thank you, Anna. Well, since we only have 5 minutes left, I might try and get through a few more questions. I haven't answered many questions tonight. What do you have for me, Anna?
Yeah, so Meg would like to know how often you're going to see a lone penguin.
Ooh, okay. How often do you see a lone penguin? We definitely see lone penguins, but not very often, especially at when they're crossing the beach at nighttime. You don't very often see a penguin by itself because they do form those groups, those rafts or wattles for the safety in numbers. And even when they're safe on land, as you can see here, they like to stick together. They like to stay with their group. It actually looks like there's 2 chicks running around the highway up ahead. If you can see them over to the left chasing after the adults. So they like to stay together where they can, but sometimes we do get a penguin. Oh, there's some more coming past. A penguin who wants to come out before all the other penguins. So a few nights ago, we had one penguin cross. I think it was 10 or 15 minutes before all of the other penguins even thought about arriving. This little guy just waddled across the beach, came up, went up the highway, and went back to his burrow. So he was either a very brave or a very stupid penguin, but he did manage to make it home. So good on him. And sometimes you might see a penguin out and about during the day who might be all by themselves, and that's usually not a good sign. So if you do see a penguin during the day, that usually means there's something wrong if they're out and about. And I did see a few days ago, I was out driving around the peninsula to go to one of our study sites, and I found this little penguin in the middle of the road. So I picked him up and we took him to our wildlife clinic where we care for any penguins or other animals that are sick or injured. And he was just a little fledgling who maybe didn't quite know what he was doing, and he was a little bit hungry, so he was out looking for food. So they'll be able to rehabilitate him and release him. So if you do want to help contribute to our wildlife hospital and the conservation, education and research work we do here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we are a non-for-profit organisation. You can come and visit us, and buying a ticket goes right back in towards protecting our wildlife, like our little penguins that we can see here. And you can also donate to the Penguin Foundation or adopt a penguin. The link's in the description of our stream tonight. So you can help us out in that way as well. And we definitely do want to see everyone back here as soon as possible to see our beautiful little penguins. I know each and every night is different. And I know you guys are going to get penguin withdrawals when we stop our live penguin TV. I'm definitely going to miss talking to you guys about penguins every other night. And we'll hope to see you on some very special occasions and see our beautiful little penguins. But it's definitely a special experience coming and seeing them in person, seeing the real thing, smelling it, hearing it, smelling that beautiful stench of fishy penguin poo, hearing all the noises, the hucks, the the trills, the what's your best penguin noise, Anna?
Oh, I
Put
can
her on
only do the
spot.
huck, Megan.
You can do the huck?
I can do the huck.
Okay.
That's it for me.
It's a pretty good huck. I reckon you guys should practice your penguin calls at home. And sometimes when I'm out in the penguin colony just walking around, I might go and sometimes they reply to me. I think I'm a bit of a crazy penguin lady out there talking to the penguins, but I swear sometimes they talk back. Anna's looking at me like I'm a crazy person.
So Megan, that probably brings us to maybe a last question for tonight.
That's a great idea.
And that was by Jess, and she'd like to know what's your favourite part about working with the penguins.
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I think my favourite part about working with the penguins is just their personalities. I know as a researcher, I'm not meant to say they have personalities, but anecdotally, they really do. And penguins are just so spunky and they have so much attitude. That's what I love so much about them, that I kind of get to know the penguins going out and doing burrow checks and checking the same burrows all the time. Some penguins are feisty, and every time you even have a peek in their little nesting box, they'll just try and jump out and fight you. And some penguins, you'll have a look inside and they'll just look up at you like, oh, yeah, what do you want? I'm just sitting on my eggs, chilling out. And they're all different, and you can see that especially on the highway cameras. You watch them waddle right past us here. Some of them just will strut, they'll puff their chest out, they'll walk along the highway like they own the place. Some of them are looking around, ooh, not quite sure, a little bit nervous, and they all just have their personalities. And as cute as they might be, they are just so feisty. They will definitely fight you even though they're only a foot tall. I've had penguins chase me. I've had penguins bite the legs of my pants. I definitely have lots of penguin bites on my hands because they are just such energetic, incredible little birds with so much personality. And I might throw that one back to Anna as well. Do you have a favourite part about working with the penguins, Anna?
I think I do. I think my favourite part's actually seeing the people interacting with the penguins, the smiles on faces when they come to see us, and also knowing that people are going home with a conservation message as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not just seeing the penguins in their habitat, it's going home knowing that when they care for the environment at home, they're helping us look after the penguins and all the animals around the world.
I love that. Oh, that's so touching. Yeah, it's definitely incredible, especially little kids seeing them see a penguin for the first time and just being in awe of these little animals that just seem to appear from nowhere, and then you're just surrounded by them out here at the Penguin Parade. So it's a very special place to be, very special animal to work with, and it's incredible seeing all the people here enjoying the penguins. So we're very excited to have people back here. It was a little bit lonely without everyone here. So yeah, I'm gonna go over to the highway for our last few penguins we'll be able to see. So we do want to see you guys back here as soon as possible. We're gonna miss doing our live Penguin TV. So keep checking our Facebook and YouTube pages. We'll let you know when we have special events coming up, but we do want to see you in the flesh if you do want to come see our beautiful little penguins. Oh, there's one doing what I call a penguin pancake, lying down having a bit of a rest. There we go, it keeps going. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to another night of live Penguin TV. Tomorrow night will be my last night. You'll see Anna again tomorrow on Sunday. You'll have Jordan on Sunday, and then Stephen for our last 2 nights of live Penguin TV on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll both see all of you guys again tomorrow night. But thank you for watching tonight. And I think we'll leave you with a hug.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys. Hug.